Tonight, we step into a new phase of the war, a phase Russia claimed would never happen, a phase Western analysts quietly insisted Ukraine could never reach. But it happened, and it hit like a steel hammer. A Ukrainian drone, launched not hundreds but 1,400 kilometers away, crossed Russian airspace, evaded surveillance, slipped past border defenses, and slammed into one of the Russian Federation's major oil refineries in Orsk. 4 detonations, heavy smoke, flames rising over a facility that processes 30 different types of fuels: endurance, gasoline, diesel, lubricants, aviation kerosene, bitumen. This wasn't just a strike, it was a message to Russia's war machine. A message delivered not with speeches, but with precision, distance, and fire. Tonight, we investigate Ukraine's deep strike, the battle-scarred town of Pokrovsk, and the silent, grinding war of logistics unfolding beneath the rubble. This is the real situation, not the propaganda, not the sound bites, the truth. The briefing behind closed doors. On November 11th, President Volodymyr Zelensky sat across from Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky. The location wasn't disclosed, the room wasn't photographed, only fragments of the conversation were allowed into the public sphere. But the tone was unmistakable, sharp, measuring, tense. The kind of tone that comes not from panic, but from the weight of reality. The meeting wasn't about politics, it wasn't about diplomacy. It wasn't about statements for foreign press, it was about survival, Ukraine's survival. The president opened with a cold, sober assessment. The most difficult situation remains in the Pokrovsk direction and in the Zaporizhzhia region. He wasn't exaggerating. Pokrovsk, a once quiet town in the Donetsk region, has become a furnace of steel, drones, and close-quarter assaults. The battlefield has shifted into concrete stairwells, shattered storefronts, collapsed roofs, underground corridors. Russian forces are pressing hard, not because Pokrovsk holds some symbolic value, but because taking it would give them leverage, momentum, and propaganda oxygen. And Zelensky acknowledged reality. The weather favors Russia: fog, wind, low skies, the kind of conditions that blur the lines between offensive and reckless. But Ukraine fights anyway. Our units continue to destroy Russian forces, Zelensky said. Simple, understated, cold. But behind those words are hours of barricaded staircases, drone ambushes, sniper duels, evacuation corridors, shattered armored columns, and bodies. Many bodies. Tonight, we unfold what destroying Russian forces actually means. Pokrovsk, the place where the map bleeds. Pokrovsk is not merely a location on a line of contact. Pokrovsk is a collision point. Ukraine's general staff reported 63 attacks repelled in a single day, in a cluster of villages and towns whose names now carry the weight of sacrifice: Pankivka, Shakov, Chervony Lyman, Rodinske, Mikhailivka, Novoekonomichne, Mirnohrad, Lysivka, Pokrovsk, Udachna, Filia, Dakhna. Each name is a battlefield. Each battlefield is a story. Russian forces have already entered parts of Pokrovsk's urban area. They push through alleys, they attempt to create choke points. They aim to encircle the defenders. Encirclement, that's the key. The classic Russian operational goal: cut off supplies, cut off reinforcements, cut off escape routes, cut off life. But Ukraine refuses to become a trapped animal. And that's why tonight's story is not just about defensive stands, it's about Ukrainian counter-pressure. Part 3. The strike. Deep inside, Russia, Orsk. The briefing between Zelensky and Syrsky wasn't just about Pokrovsk. It was also about something more, something Russia didn't think Ukraine could do. Long-range strikes every day. Zelensky said it plainly. Ukrainian long-range sanctions must take effect every day, and we are making that happen. It's a cryptic phrase. What are long-range sanctions? Sanctions delivered not with signatures, but with fire. On the morning of November 11th, the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, working with the Alpha Special Operations Center, launched drones toward Orsk in the Orenburg region. Distance, 1,400 kilometers. To visualize that, it's like hitting a target in Berlin from Rome, or striking a refinery in Madrid from London. That kind of distance isn't luck, It's engineering, intelligence, patience, and absolute intent. The Orsk Refinery isn't small. It's among Russia's leading producers of fuel. It feeds Russia's vehicles, aircraft, logistics chains. In war terms, it feeds the beast. 4 explosions, smoke rising into the sky. A second strike on the same facility, the first occurred on October 3rd, and the SBU's message was brutal. Such attacks undermine the aggressor's economic potential, reduce its oil profits, and complicate logistics for supplying its army. Ukraine isn't hitting random fuel depots. Ukraine is hitting the bloodstream of Russia's war economy. Every strike forces Russia to reroute fuel. Rerouting creates delays. Delays cause shortages. Shortages lead to tactical paralysis. Paralysis spreads panic. This is the invisible war, the war of targeting fuel supply, transport, weapons manufacturing, and Ukraine is waging it deep inside enemy territory. Part 4, the kill zone. Logistics, war near Pokrovsk. The war isn't only about land grabs, it's about the arteries of movement. Russia has been trying to cut off Ukrainian logistics in the Pokrovsk direction, push for the roads, railways, supply lines. If Pokrovsk falls, supply routes get squeezed, pressure increases, morale takes a hit. But Ukraine has its own moves. The 7th Corps of the Air Assault Brigade explained it. When it comes to the kill zone near Pokrovsk, the enemy also has complicated logistics. Translation: if Russia wants to cut Ukraine's supply lines, Ukraine will cut theirs. Ukrainian forces identified a Russian logistics route near Shevchenko, just 5 kilometers south of Pokrovsk. They mined it remotely. Then they destroyed a Russian robotic ground vehicle using that route. This detail might seem small. It isn't. This is the invisible chess of war. Mining supply routes, using drones to map enemy movement, denying access to robotic transports, forcing Russia to adapt, slowing their forward push, fracturing their ability to encircle. When a supply route collapses, an offensive collapses with it, and Ukraine is attacking those routes one by one. Part 5. Inside Pokrovsk. Holding the line. Officials confirm what the battlefield shows. Russian forces have infiltrated Pokrovsk. They're pushing in with infantry, armored support, drones. Reports mention around 1,000 Russian troops inside the town. But the defenders aren't folding. Major Andriy Kovalov from the General Staff said Ukrainian units are confidently holding their positions and inflicting significant losses. And Ukrainian intelligence units, HUR, are expanding fire control over Russian logistics inside the city. Fire control means this: if a truck moves, it can be hit. If ammunition is delivered, it can be destroyed. If reinforcements arrive, they can be targeted. Control through destruction. You don't need to occupy a street to dominate it. You only need to make it impossible for the enemy to use it. Pokrovsk is becoming a labyrinth of hit zones. Every alley is a threat. Every intersection a kill box. Every movement carries risk, and Russia knows it. The General Staff denies Russian claims of encirclement, and the pattern shows. When Russia claims it surrounded a town, it usually means it tried, failed, took losses, and now wants to give the appearance of progress. Not tonight. Not in Pokrovsk. The defenders are holding, and they're striking back. Part 6. The connection between Orsk and Pokrovsk. At first glance, Orsk and Pokrovsk are two separate worlds. One deep inside Russia, one on the front line, but they are connected by a single chain: logistics. When Ukraine hits Orsk, Russia loses. Refined fuel, mobility, artillery transport efficiency, drone production fuel, armored vehicle maintenance supplies, aviation kerosene. When Ukraine hits logistics near Pokrovsk, Russia loses. Immediate supply routes, ammunition flow, reinforcement channels, evacuation lanes, command control mobility. Together, these two blows, one deep, one close, form a pincer attack on Russia's war machine. It's a strategy. Hit the source, hit the front line, force Russia to fight blind and fight slow. Part 7. The real cost. Russia's oil economy under fire. The Orsk Refinery isn't a random industrial facility. It produces over 30 oil products. It powers vehicles on the front line. It powers civilian infrastructure. It powers the logistics grid. And twice now, Ukraine has struck the same refinery. Why repeat the strike? Because repetition breaks repair cycles. First strike, panic. Second strike, disruption. Third strike, breakdown. Russia's economy bleeds from its fuel lines. Ukraine is targeting those lines relentlessly. Not only in Orsk, but Saratov, but Feodosia, but Tuapse. Each strike cuts a vein. Each fire costs rubles, hours, manpower, stability. Orsk alone could sustain tens of millions of dollars in damage, probably more. And with every refinery hit, Russia's war machine slows. Part 8. A nation of adaptation. Russia adapts. Ukraine adapts faster. Russian troops try to cut supply routes. Ukraine mines them remotely. Russia pushes into Pokrovsk. Ukraine envelops them with fire control. Russia tries to encircle Ukraine, opens new kill zones. Russia tries to fortify fuel supply. Ukraine strikes 1,400 kilometers inside their territory. Russia introduces robotic ground vehicles. Ukraine destroys them and maps their routes. This is not the war of 2022. This is a war of drones, sabotage, logistics, precision, counter-precision. A war of intellect, a war of adaptation. Part 9. The message nobody can ignore. Ukraine's deep strike sends a message not only to Russia, but to the world. It says distance cannot protect you. Refineries are not safe. We can reach you. We will reach you again. This message shakes Russia's confidence. If Ukraine can hit Orsk, what else can it hit? What is out of reach? What can Russia no longer guarantee? The Kremlin hates uncertainty. And this strike is uncertainty turned into fire. Part 10. The future of this battle. Pokrovsk will continue burning. Ukraine will defend. Russia will push. Streets will change hands. Bridges will collapse. Drones will buzz overhead. But deep strikes? Those will continue too. Ukraine's strategy is clear. Break Russia's ability to sustain an offensive. Not by matching them shell for shell, but by cutting the arteries of fuel and movement. If a refinery burns, a tank doesn't move. If a logistics route collapses, a brigade loses momentum. If a supply line is mined, an encirclement fails. This is the war beneath the war. And Ukraine is winning that underground battle. Conclusion: a new era of long-range warfare. The title says, 50 million plus Russian oil infrastructure hit. Ukraine strikes 1,400 kilometers inside. That isn't shock value. That isn't exaggeration. That isn't propaganda. That is the truth. Ukraine struck deeper than ever before. Russia is losing fuel supplies. Pokrovsk is resisting a choking assault. Supply lines are contested. Robotic vehicles are being destroyed. Frontline logistics are collapsing. This war is entering a new era. An era of range, precision, targeting, disruption. Pokrovsk burns, Orsk burns, and the war machine on both sides groans under the weight of constant evolution. This is Adrian Coldwell, and this is The Real War.